Today we're cooking kimchi. What are we cooking? Fried kimchi? Kimchi Bokkeum? Annyeonghaseyo from Korea. Welcome to Next Matchup. Today we're using kimchi to make Kimchi Guksu. Kimchi Guksu will use this delicious kimchi that has been extra aged. So it's a little older than normal kimchi and it's more delicious if you like that. Now we're going to take this extra aged kimchi and we're going to put it with a delicious soup. We're going to use, look, oh, it's dripping. All this stuff dripping is a delicious sauce that we can use to make another sauce. We're going to take that sauce, put it with some other ingredients, and it's going to create the base for our soup. Let's begin. It's getting everywhere.
For this dish to work, you need to use kimchi that has been fermented for a long time. The longer the better. 묵은지 is the name of kimchi that you buy at the store that has been extra fermented, as well as shingimchi is another word you might hear that just means kimchi that's a little bit more sour, and that's because it's been fermenting for longer. But the real way to do it is just if you have kimchi in the fridge that's been there for a while, or if you're at the supermarket, pick up the kimchi that is close to the sell-by date.
I love it, kimchi. Oh, that's so good.
Alright, back to chopping this kimchi. Now don't throw away that little end piece, just slice it up nice and thin and it'll go perfect with your delicious soup. Make sure all the kimchi is sliced fairly thin because it's going to go in soup, so you don't want big pieces of it. Now for your broth, I'm using broth that we have lying around, so we have that kimchi sort of sauce that comes with all the kimchi we get at Kimjang that we make with sort of our in-laws. But what you can do if you buy kimchi in a packet, just use whatever's there. You should have enough in that packet. Throw a bit of water in and then mix it in with it. So add a little bit of extra water, but like use it to rinse the packet out. That way you'll get a bit more sauce from it. You can also slightly wash the kimchi if you want to get a little bit more sauce off of the kimchi. Mix it with those ingredients that I put before. If you don't have plum concentrate, use a little bit of sugar. We want a nice sort of slightly sweet taste, and the plum extract does that, so that's why it's such a good ingredient to add. Then we've got our cucumber. The crunchy taste and the refreshing flavor of cucumber goes perfect with that sort of spicy, sour type of flavor that kimchi has. So put that on top and slice it up nice and thin. For our noodles, somyeon noodles are thin wheat flour noodle, very thin, very easy to cook. Just cook them for 4 minutes. Time it, run them under some water, nice cold water. We want to stop the cooking process. Give them a good rinse, like a very good rinse. Then rub them against each other to remove the starch. Otherwise, you'll end up with a big chunk of noodles that don't mix well when you put them in the pot. You don't. So there's my noodles. They're not all stuck together because I rinsed them well. I've got nice thinly sliced pieces of kimchi on top. But then we add our beautiful, delicious cucumber. Look at that, perfect. So that's going to go really well. They're not too big pieces, and also not too small. And then the sauce comes on, or the soup, whatever you want to call it. It's the flavor of this dish. Very simple flavors mixed with some strong kimchi flavor. That's what makes it so good. Now this is actually more of a summer dish, and you tend to add ice cubes to it. I love to do this, even though at the moment, a little bit of a spoiler, it is winter where I am. But I like to make this even in winter. It's just so good. You don't have to use black sesame seeds. You can use normal sesame seeds that have been toasted, but I find you just get a bit of extra flavor from these ones. Speaking of flavor, let's eat.
Okay, let's combine it all and eat. Whoa. You've got to get a bit of everything on here. You need a bit of kimchi, a bit of cucumber. I love noodles. So good. Everything about this dish works. Oh no! Annyeonghaseyo from Korea. Welcome to Next Matchup. Today we're cooking Kimchi Jjigae. Kimchi Jjigae uses extra fermented kimchi and it makes a stew. Jjigae means stew in Korean. Now today I'm actually going to show you a bit of a secret recipe. When you normally cook kimchi jjigae, you're going to fry the kimchi and then fry the pork, but today I'm actually going to boil down the pork to make almost like a pork guksu, almost a pork broth or sort of like a stock. We're going to use that stock as the base for the kimchi jjigae to actually give it a much more delicious flavor, well, at least in my opinion.
While it's very easy to make kimchi jjigae, if you want it to be perfect, you have to take note of a few ingredients. First is your kimchi. Use shin kimchi that's been fermented for a long time, as well as keeping the broth. You need a little bit of the broth or it's going to be a very bland stew. This tofu is firm tofu that is for jjigaes, for stews, so make sure you don't get the soft one, won't work out quite right. And for your pork, you want pork that's got bits of fat on it. Some style pork belly would be best, but this is actually like specific pork for jjigaes, sort of cut like that. The more sort of fat on it, the better. Pour enough water in that it sort of lightly covers it. It's going to boil down. You can always add more water if you need it later on, but about that much. See how it's just covering the pork? And then we're going to bring it to the boil, add your fish sauce, that's just a little bit of seasoning, and let it boil down for about 25 to 30 minutes. Really, the longer the better. You want all of that fat to render into the soup, and that's going to make sort of that guksu, or the broth that I mentioned earlier. We're just going to slice up some green onions here, and the greener part, I'm just going to put that on the top as garnish. For the tofu, this firm tofu is perfect. Now it's actually optional, you don't need to add tofu. I almost always do it when I'm cooking jjigae, just because it adds a little bit more volume to the dish. You know, nice and filling for you. You'll always have more than enough if you add a bit of tofu in there. But if you don't like tofu, just skip it. Your kimchi should have fermented for a long time, full of flavor. How you cut it is up to you. Just make sure you don't cut it too small. No one likes tiny pieces of kimchi in their kimchi jjigae. You want at least bigger pieces. Go for bigger more than smaller, in other words. And always taste it. You gotta taste the kimchi.
This is my favorite part. Oh, so good.
Kimchi is so full of flavor, you could eat it by itself, so when you add it to this dish, you do want to get as much flavor from it into your jjigae, basically. And speaking of which, look, see how the water's down? We've got only a little bit of water, nice layer of fat as well in there. And now we can put the kimchi and mix it all up together. So the fat from it is all on the bottom, and that's going to mix in with our kimchi. A little bit of a fry, so for about 3 minutes, just sort of fry it all off on a medium heat. Turn the heat back up. Then add your water. I'm using 700 mils of water. You could probably add more. If you like more water in your broth or in your sort of soup or jjigae, add in more. Once that's boiling, throw in our pepper flakes, the garlic, the soy sauce, and then give it a good mix. You want to boil it for about 2 to 3 minutes at this point. Really get some of that water out of it and get the flavors in before you add in the sugar. Just a little bit of sugar, a little bit of sweetness. It'll also sort of like firm up your sauce, get a bit stickier. After 4 to 5 minutes, you're ready to add in your green onion and then your tofu. It's pretty much done here, though the longer you cook it, the more flavorful it will be, but the water will start to disappear and evaporate. So you sort of have to balance that. You don't want it to be too runny, but you also don't want it to be too thick, lacking the sauce that you want to mix in with your rice later on. So give it a taste, and if it's ready, then just turn it off and you'll be fine. Or keep it boiling a little bit longer, and you can always add a little more water if you need. But once it is ready, turn off the heat and add your sesame oil. It's a real game changer. It'll add a lot of extra savory flavors to your dish. For serving your kimchi jjigae, I recommend serving it over with a little bit of rice, just like this, or you just have the rice on the side. Usually in Korea, you'll have your jjigae in the middle, sharing with whoever you're eating with, and then your rice is on the side where you'll add sort of spoonfuls of kimchi jjigae and the ingredients to the rice in particular. But this is a one-person one, or a two-person one, because me and my wife will have one each. Speaking of which, it's time to actually eat this and see how it tastes.
Best part about cooking Korean food is of course the part we get to eat it. So, I'm gonna eat this, and I can't wait. First, kimchi. Ooh. Yeah. Kimchi already tastes great, especially shin kimchi. It's been fermenting for a long time. So when you cook this, it should elevate it. The kimchi should be more delicious than it started as. And I love my kimchi as it is. So that's such a good flavor to it. Annyeonghaseyo from Korea. Welcome to Next Smart Chip. Today we're making Kimchi Jeon. Kimchi Jeon's basically like a pancake with kimchi in it. Let's get started.
The trick with the kimchi pancake is to use the same amount of dry ingredients as wet ingredients. So I'm going to use 1 1/4 cup of the pancake mix with 1 cup of water plus 1/4 cup of delicious Kimchi Guksu or kimchi juice, basically the juice that comes from the kimchi when you're using it. Now the packet mix, our Bokkeum garu, you can buy that at a lot of sort of Asian supermarkets. You can also make your own. You can look up a recipe online and find that there's a few ingredients you add to it to make it more delicious. I wanted to add in some kimchi broth, 1/4 cup, and I thought, well, I've actually got all this. I'm going to put all of it in. Now the problem with that is now I actually have a little too much liquid. So the trick is if you stir it in and it looks too sort of, I don't know, runny is the right word, right? Check that out. Look, oh, that's too runny. We're not making crepes here. We're making kimchi pancake. Just throw in a little bit more powder, a bit more flour if you want, and that'll thicken things up. So I'm going to eyeball it, but about the same amount, sort of 1/4 cup extra. And you can see the difference. Once I stir that in, it thickens up nicely. You want it to look about like this. Perfect. Almost like hotcake batter. For my garnish, I'm just going to slice up a red pepper. You'll see what I do with that soon. I'm also going to use some genep or sesame leaf, and I'll put that on later. It's also good to throw in some onions. Now you can use onions if you want, or green onions for in this case. Just something that's a little bit crispy to throw in a bit more flavor to add to our kimchi. You can just do it just plain kimchi and that'll be more than fine, but you'll get more flavor if you add in some sort of onion. And there's the star of the show, my kimchi. Yum. Try to use kimchi that's been fermented for a long time. We call that shin kimchi in Korea. You can do it without it, but the taste won't be the same. You just get such a good flavor the longer the kimchi has been fermenting. Always remember that. When you're cooking with kimchi, use the fermented kimchi. It's the best one. A little bit of oil in the pan, or a lot if you want to get it nice and crispy, and then just spread it out. Yum. You want it on a medium high heat, not too hot. You don't want to burn it and then just have the inside be uncooked, so just do keep an eye on that. I'm going to decorate it a little bit here. Got some genep, that's sesame leaf. I thought noughts and crosses looks good. Of course, you can decorate it however you want. You could also add the sesame leaf to the batter. It actually tastes quite good when you put it inside it. So I'll show you the bottom soon so you get an idea of what it should look like. We don't want it to be black, but you also don't want it to be undercooked. And I want mine to be crispy, so look at that, perfect golden color. And if the bottom is nice and brown, it should flip very easily. Look at that, perfect. Yum. So we just serve it with the others. This batter makes about 2 to 3 of these big pancakes, and I'm going to serve it with something I made earlier. So have a look to the side. You can see some chuinamul. Not chuinamul, as I said in the video. Check out my video on how to make that because I really recommend combining these two. They were so delicious. The beautiful greens with the pancake. One of the best combinations I've had all year. So definitely try that out and check out my channel for the recipe. Remember, every week I post a new Korean dish and some of them, all of them, go well together.
Try it by itself. So kimchi-like. that's a good thing. Kimchi is a delicious flavor, and you add this with a crispy sort of outside of it. It's so good. Oh, crunch, crunch. A bit of that. This with this, That's a game changer. I've never had that in Korea before, but it's such a great combination that this is absolutely my go-to dish. Cook up a little bit of this one, a bit of chuen and then add it with some kimchi pancake. What a lunch. This is how you start your day in Korea. Annyeonghaseyo from Korea. Welcome to Next Matchup. Today we're cooking Kimchi Bokkeum. Kimchi is kimchi, Bokkeum means fried, and bap is rice. So Kimchi Bokkeum is kimchi fried rice. Let's get going.
You don't need to use pork belly if you don't want. You can remove the pork altogether and just go with more of a vegetarian option with just the kimchi. However, I find using pork belly that the fat that you're going to cook it with, or the fat that the pork belly consists of, will add to the flavor of the dish. So if you don't mind the flavor of it, definitely try and use it. So slice up a few of these vegetables. We've got some onion, green onion, and then like I mentioned, we get our pork belly in that pan and get it frying. We want the oil from the pork belly or the fat to be in there. So you don't need to add any extra oil to the dish except for some sesame oil later on. Make sure it's nice and crispy. We want a good flavor on the outside of that, and we want some of that pork fat to start to caramelize slightly. Make some room here because what we're going to do, see all that oil in there, we're going to use it and add in our green onions. Frying that up with the onions will get it nice and translucent. When everything is sort of soft and it's mixed in with the fat from the pork belly, it's time to add in our kimchi. Ooh, look at that, that is perfect. So we don't want anything too crunchy, we want to make sure it's a little bit soft. Get some of that water out of it. Give all of this as good a fry as you can. You don't want it to be too wet, but you also don't want it to be too dry. So there we go. I'm going to let that sit for a couple of minutes like that to get a nice sort of crispy bottom to it. And then, oh yeah, turn it up. Look at that. Perfect. Keep it moving now. So turn up the heat now. We want it to get a little bit hotter now. Add in the rice with a little bit of that sesame oil and keep turning. Keep moving everything around. Break up some of that rice and make sure this is cooked rice. Use rice from the day before, or you can actually buy sort of pre-cooked rice in Korea that works perfectly for fried rice. Keep everything moving. Now you can add the eggs just straight to it, but what I find is that I actually like big pieces of the egg like this in mine, so just give them a quick mix, heat them up and then add them in. Though you can just put them in if you want and just keep everything mixing. It'll be more than fine. At this point we're almost finished, so it's the best time to taste it to see if we need to add anything. If you think it's a little bit bland, add in some extra salt. If you're happy with the flavor, leave it as is, though I do recommend adding a pinch of pepper. I probably put a little bit too much here, but that's okay, still tastes it okay. Then give it a good mix and it should be ready to go. Now your perilla leaf that I'm putting in here is optional. You don't need to have that, but I find it adds a little bit of extra to the sort of dish and it helps sort of cut through a little bit of that fattier flavor that you might be getting from it. Beautiful. And we're ready. It's all done. Let's eat this. For our garnish, we're going to use a little bit of sesame seed, just a nice bit on top, and some seasoned seaweed lather. And the lather, that is just the Kim packets that I had before, the seaweed little sheets. They usually use rice. Slice those up nice and thin and put a little bit on top. Yum. Often when you go to a shabu shabu restaurant, you'll get a little bit of rice with this and an egg as well. And you mix it all together to make a beautiful fried rice at the end of your shabu shabu meal. So tasty.
Let's eat. Kimchi pork, perfect. Almost don't want to talk about it, I just want to keep eating. It's perfect. It's got that perfect kimchi flavor, and then you've got that sort of oil from our chamgiram, so it's got that sesame kick to it that really elevates it beyond just like a normal fried rice. So I'm going to eat this, I'm going to mix this up, mix it up, and I'm going to eat it before all these little bits of seaweed start to melt or soften, because I love it when they're crunchy. Thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed the video. As always, subscribe, hit that like button. If you're interested in Korean food, I post a new Korean dish every week. Alright, enjoy your week, eat deliciously, and 안녕히 계세요. Thanks for watching. Today we're cooking kimchi. What are we cooking? Fried kimchi? Kimchi Bokkeum?